Hey everybody, today I'm going to do a quick edit of a kind of a child photography effect. This is my 2-year-old Ainsley and she's going to be my guinea pig today. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to adjust my levels. That is my favorite thing to start with. The other thing I tend to do sometimes is I'll duplicate or control drain my background and I'll hide a layer. So if I ever want to come back to my original, I already have it. Okay, so I'm going to go back up to my levels layer. And I am just going to make sure that I have the best contrast for the picture by dragging these two bars. If I want to make my picture overall lighter or darker, I could use this underneath, but this seems to work the best. I can also change like where my midtones are with this handy little guy in the middle. So I'm actually going to start right there because I like it a little lighter for this effect. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to crop. For this, I'm kind of going to use like a 4:6 format or a ratio along those lines. And I'm going to decide what I think is going to be my best overall effect. Now, because her shirt's sticking up, I'm actually going to crop a little closer because I just want the cuteness that she is throwing down with her attitude. So using my rule of thirds, I'm going to crop her to one of these intersections. And I'm going to press enter. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so I get a good look at her. Now, my levels are good, so I'm happy with that. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to duplicate my background layer again. So I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to bring it on top of my levels, and I am going to set it for screen. Now, it's going to make it really light, and all you have to do is come over here to the opacity on your layers palette, and what I do is I go all the way to 0, and then I work, backwards based on that. So actually right now, I love this picture. I would keep it. I think it's interesting. And what I could do is I can then save it. However, there's one more thing that you could try, which I think would be pretty sweet. And I'm going to add an iris blur. In order to do that, what I'm going to do is I am going to merge my visible layers. So I'm going to merge visible. So now all of this stuff is set in one. If you want to save, I would recommend doing that before you do that in case you want to come back and play with levels or the screen anymore. But right now, this is my picture. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to blur gallery, and I'm going to use an iris blur, which is actually pretty sweet. So it's going to give you this circle. And from there, it's going to control the amount of blur that you want. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Okay, by pulling on these ends, I can zoom my circle in and out. I can change my shape to be wider, so it's just maybe blurring the edges a little bit, almost like a vignette effect. And then here, once again, I can change the amount of blur that it is, like kind of the width of that blur. Okay, here is where you would change, how much blur. That's a little crazy. So I'm going to turn that down, and what it's going to do is it's just going to give me a softer effect around my edges. And here I can actually change how much blur it's going to add to. So this is just going to give my outer edges just kind of a softer vignette effect. So that's another way that you can make your pictures look a little bit more dreamy. Now because she's on an angle, I'm just going to angle this a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to press OK here at the top. Okay, and there you have it. There is my edited picture versus my original.